Well, thank you for joining the Homebuyers series for specialty products. My name is Joanne Theriault-Fazio, and I will be your host today. I'm with Origin Point. I'm a divisional sales director here, and I run, or I'm one half of, I should say, a husband and wife team within our company. We are personally licensed in 20 states, the company being licensed in even more. So if you happen to be here from outside of Illinois, know that we can help you anywhere. We are going to talk about quite a few products, very much at a high level overview. And if any of these resonate with you personally or with clients or anything like that, please feel free to reach out and message us on social or send us an email. We will send a follow-up email as well with some information on the presentation and the winners of our raffle drawing at the end as well. We're going to talk about, like I said, a bunch of different products, and then we'll go over some upcoming events. So I am just going to, keep rolling with it and dive in because we have quite a bit to cover. So first and foremost, this is our most recent launch. Our product development team is quite amazing. They have come up with so many new products that have just really thinking outside of the box within the last, I would say, 2 years or so. A lot of creativity has gone into this. And so for those of you who are familiar with cryptocurrency, and feel free to drop a yes, I'm familiar with crypto, or no, I'm not familiar with crypto in the chat. But if you've ever tried to get a mortgage or had a client who's tried to get a mortgage who had a lot of crypto, it was really hard in the past. And now we have a product that we launched that we can use crypto where you don't have to liquidate it, and we can use it for assets or reserves, and we can also use it for income qualifying. It's pretty awesome. Up to a $2 million loan amount, 80% loan to value. With this one, you do have to have a little bit higher of a credit score, 720. And so for those of you who have been on our calls before, we've talked about credit. In fact, our call in June will be strictly about credit. So we'll do a lot of refresher then. But with 720 and above, that's considered a pretty good score because credit goes from 300 to 850. So you do have to have a little bit higher of a credit for this particular crypto qualifying portfolio product. So just wanted to make a quick mention of that one. Also, talk about some of our other portfolio products and how we qualify. And the reason why I have this all kind of on one slide is because you can kind of go any which way or any combination of way when you're looking to qualify. For a 1099 borrower, for example, that person may have multiple businesses. Maybe they're a real estate agent, and then maybe their spouse has a different type of business, and we have to do some sort of a combination of a loan. So with a 1099 borrower, which is, basically somebody who is either owning their own company or receiving 1099 where they're not taxed, instead of getting into the whole, okay, now I have to show my tax returns and I'm writing off everything because I can, because I'm a 1099 employee, we don't have to do that. We can strictly just go off of that top number on the 1099, which does help immensely sometimes with qualifying. Business bank statement programs have become a little bit more popular because a lot of businesses may have more cash flow at certain times of year. And so then their income might look a little bit more favorable. So what we look at for on business bank statements is your bank statements in which your assets are going into the deposits from your actual business that you own, not personal like assets, but like your business assets. And from that, we come up with like a calculation, and we can use that for qualifying. So let's just say you deposit in various stages $20,000 a month in revenue into this business account. We can use $20,000 a month in income. We have business bank statement programs that go back only 3 months. And then if you want to get a little bit better of an interest rate, we have to go back a little bit deeper. So say 24 months. But we have a variety of different business bank statement programs that, again, is really good for somebody who's generating a lot of revenue, but then maybe it's only at certain parts of the year, but maybe they're writing off a ton on their tax returns, or maybe they have like different partnerships or multiple tax return qualifying situations, and we really want to kind of try to avoid all of that extra paperwork. This is a way to streamline that. I am going backwards on here, but that's because I want to talk about my favorite one of these, the asset depletion loan. We have a variety of them. We have our portfolio product, which will let us take any combination of your assets. So it could be 401k, it can be stocks and bonds, and it lets us take that total number minus whatever you're using for down payment and divide it by 84 months. And that's your qualifying income number, which is pretty great because that actually can get people a really high number. And that's like more for the portfolio type of products. But then also, for those of you who've been on these calls before, we've talked about various ways just to qualify as a first-time home buyer or a retired borrower. I would say that this is pretty popular for a retired borrower that's asset depletion, but also Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac do allow for certain types of asset depletion as well. So it's not always going to just be relegated to a portfolio loan. The portfolio loan would probably give more flexibility in how we can calculate that income. But Fannie and Freddie, the regular conventional conforming loans will allow for it as well. So kind of great that we have a lot of different ways in which we can use that. Again, probably one of my favorite ways to qualify somebody because I can combine it with different types of income. I had a borrower qualifying last year for a property. She was retired, so she did receive a little bit of Social Security, but she had a very large portfolio in a 401k and she wasn't just really drawing on it. So we just did a combination of Social Security income with asset depletion. And I did see a question in the chat, so I love questions. Let's see if I can answer it. Are there minimum asset requirements for asset depletion loans? So no, if let's just say you only need $1,000 from your assets, then we could just use like the bare minimum, or maybe we're only using one account to qualify you. So there isn't going to be a minimum requirement. Some of the investors are going to have a minimum age requirement if we're looking at it from more of like a retirement standpoint. Our asset depletion portfolio loan doesn't care how old you are. You could be 36 and not retired, just have a lot of assets, or you can be 72 and retired and that's all that your income is. So we have a combination of ways in which we're definitely able to look at it. But for your higher net worth borrower, that is going to, be a good alternative option if they don't have like traditional income. A lot of this is about not traditional income. You're not just, a W-2 salaried employee at AbbVie or Aon or Walmart or something like that. You are, having a more untraditional type of income. Mixed, how does this portfolio handle edge cases like mixed income sources? So a lot of it, we can combine income sources, whether it's with the two different borrowers, one being W-2 and one needing like the 1099 program or a bank statement program. But some of our investors will also allow for us to mix the two together. Like I just mentioned, that Social Security income also being able to use for asset depletion. It just depends. Not all of them will allow for it, but we do have a lot of banks and investors that we can utilize that way. And when I say we have banks and investors, what I mean is that Origin Point is a company. We're backed and powered by Rate, and we are going to do pretty much everything in-house internally. These are all, our products and everything. We're locking the loan, we're processing and underwriting and closing. The money's wired from our bank, and we service, I would say, somewhere between 50% on the jumbo non-QM side, and then maybe 80% of the conventional conforming and Govy stuff. But a lot of this is done through us. We're just locking it down in the secondary market with a particular banker investor. But yeah, we can mix the types of incomes as long as they fit the parameters. Social Security, we have to have the awards letter. With asset depletion, we have to have 2 months of the statements with all the pages and checking large deposits. And then 1099 is just the form you get from the employer, which makes that one really easy. And then bank statements, it depends. You can do a 3-month up to 24-month bank statement program. We have a bunch of different options. One product I realized I didn't mention here in the portfolio family is the DSCR, the debt service ratio coverage loans. Those are investor loans. So we'll probably do a special call on those so that we have those for the future. Because we have so many portfolio products, I couldn't even fit them all in right now. Anyway, what is next on here? Okay, we did a whole webinar on buy before you sell, but we keep getting questions about it because there's not a lot of inventory. So if you are thinking of listing your house, or you have a client who wants to list their house, but they have nowhere to go, sometimes this is a great product, especially if they can't necessarily qualify to purchase something without selling. Maybe they need the equity out of that house. We can do a bridge loan. We can do a home equity line of credit. We can put less money down on the new property. Maybe they have too high of a debt to income ratio to qualify carrying the payments from both houses. Our buy before you sell product is kind of amazing to cover that. So with that particular program, and I'm not going to get too detailed and granular in it because we did do a whole separate webinar on it, which you can find on our YouTube channel. I'll have somebody from my team, Amanda or Chris, if one of you could pop in and just put the YouTube channel in the chat so everybody has it. But with the buy before you sell, we're looking at what kind of equity you have in your departing residence, and we want it to have 20%. And when I say we're looking at it, we're doing a full appraisal. So we are getting an appraisal to get that. You are going to have a little bit higher reserve requirements depending upon what comes in the appraisal. So maybe you need 12 months or 24 months. We have a couple of variations of this product. One other product I didn't put in here was our doctor program. We'll probably do a separate call on that, but we can combine buy before you sell with our particular doctor program. So what's interesting about a lot of our products is we can kind of combine them with other pieces to make them work for someone's particular situation. But the other thing I like about the buy before you sell is that you don't have to be under contract on your sale in order to go out and buy one. You need the intent that you're going to sell. So letter of intent and or a listing agreement. If you're under contract, great. I think that just is like more of like peace of mind, but you don't need that to go make an offer on another property. And so it's just think about it like maybe risk versus reward. Like some people aren't huge risk takers, and so somebody might not want to carry two homes at the same time. But in a market where we don't have a lot of inventory, if their house that they're selling is priced right, maybe you've got it on like private listing network ahead of time or something along those lines, in order for them to, figure out what the market interest is on it. If everything is kind of done correctly and, in the right order, it can be a really great product for somebody, even if they are kind of risk adverse. I did see another question in the chat. Let me scroll back up really quick. If a client has strong assets but low monthly income, which option would you recommend? Without knowing the particular situation, I would say probably asset depletion. Most assets we can, use that formula to get a calculation on how we qualify. We just have to back out what we need to use for down payment and reserve. So probably our asset depletion program. Also, there's always the good old-fashioned cosigner. We probably don't talk about that nearly as much anymore in the market, but I see parents cosigning for their grown children all the time if they can't qualify, to hold on to a current property or don't want to do buy before you sell, or maybe they don't have the equity. So that's also, of course, a great option. I also see kids helping their parents do that as well, which I will get into on the next slide. So funny, I keep saying like, this is my favorite, but this program is actually my favorite, next to a good old-fashioned VA loan, a veteran loan, because we do also really love those because they're great products, but a family opportunity program. So let me just give you an example. I had a client last year who owns a home, and 2 doors down from him, a house came on the market. Much smaller house, but honestly, that doesn't really matter, just as long as he could qualify to purchase it. He didn't want to put more than 5% down. And so when he first called me, I thought maybe he was looking to purchase it as an investment property. And he's like, no, I want to move my mom up from Mississippi and I want to move her in here. And I'm like, oh, I have the best product in the world. Because normally when you're looking to put only 5% down, you would, like a lender who didn't know what they were doing, and say, oh, you don't qualify. Well, that's not the case. He was buying this for his elderly parent. She didn't work. She was moving here. We write a letter of direction from the borrower that says, or rather they do, I'm purchasing this property for my elderly mother. Here's her name or whatever. The parent can go on title. They don't have to, but they can. And then you could purchase that actually as a primary residence for them, but they don't actually have to be on the mortgage. So this family opportunity program gives us the ability to purchase a property for a family member who wouldn't qualify at all on their own. They don't have assets to do asset depletion. They don't have businesses or anything, or maybe they don't have credit too, because sometimes at a certain point in your life, you might not have credit. Maybe they have a house to sell. There could be a variety of reasons. And for this particular client, they kind of checked a lot of those boxes. And he bought this property for his mom. We were able to get him an owner-occupied rate versus an investment property rate and put less money down. So you can purchase it for like an adult purchasing or refinance a property for elderly parents who cannot work or qualify independently, or it could be a parent purchasing or refinancing for a disabled adult child. So it can work the other way as well. And we've done those as well. It's a program that not every bank can do. We've always been able to do them since like the beginning of time, I feel like. And so it's very popular and it's always a great option. But we do get a lot of calls with like, hey, my parents want to downsize, but cost wise, the move is kind of lateral. What do we need to look at in terms of programs? And this is sometimes a really great place to start if they don't qualify on their own. So anyway, that leads me into another way to get your elderly family member or elderly client to qualify, and that is a reverse mortgage. So there's a lot of different things with the reverse mortgage that we're looking at. And we're looking at it in terms of, like we can do a refinance on them, we can do a purchase on them. With a reverse mortgage, a lot of times the buyer, like maybe they just have like a high debt to income ratio, or they can't tap into a home equity line or something like that. They don't have sufficient savings. They have a huge medical thing coming up. That's the thing I think that scares me the most. Whoever just gave me a heart, thanks. But I think that is the thing that scares me the most for like elderly people, is that they might not have the funds to tap into. Maybe they get Social Security and a pension, but they don't have a lot of savings, but they've owned their house for 40 years and it's paid off for 10, and they have all this equity in it. If they need money, the reverse is a great product. Cannot stress it enough. And then I was reading somewhere, or I saw on Instagram, I don't know, but that this year is the year the most amount of human beings will turn 80 years old. So that is also a lot of people who probably have a lot of untapped equity that they might need to access. So this is a good thing. Like if you have a parent or a relative or grandparent and they need funds, this is a good like step for them to talk about. The other thing that's kind of amazing about a reverse mortgage is that there's no payment. It's all tacked on interest at the end of the life of the loan when they sell or refinance it. But they're not making any payments, which is, kind of nice too for somebody who might be on a fixed income. Also, again, we can do them for purchases as well. But age-wise, you typically need to be 62 plus. For a lot of the products, a couple of states, we can get away with 55 in select states. It's interesting because sometimes I'll see retired people who are much younger than that, and sometimes I see people still working that are much older than that. But that's just like what our national area median age is that we're looking at. The loan basically gets paid when the homeowner moves, sells, or no longer occupies the home as their primary residence. So also we've had situations where people have moved out, had been in a reverse mortgage, they've moved out of their house and they're moving into, say, a nursing home, or maybe they're moving into one of their kids' houses with the like a caretaker or something like that coming in with them. You need to make sure that you are like putting the house on the market within a certain amount of time frame after that, because they can call the note due. So that's the one caveat of like, I don't think a lot of people totally understand about reverse, and it's where you really need to essentially understand any kind of product that you're getting into. And the home buying process can be overwhelmed. And I just went over a handful of products on this 30-minute phone call with everybody in a very short period of time. So it's a lot of information to absorb. And that's why we kind of just like to do high level overview. And then on top of the high level overview, we then go, dig deeper when you have particular situations like to go over with us. But the other thing with reverse, it does offer a lot of financial flexibility because you're not um, doing that monthly payment, and it preserves any savings that you do have or may need for, medical emergencies or anything like that. So this side by side just shows like the difference between a reverse mortgage. So again, an age 62 plus versus a conventional mortgage, like there's an age restriction on reverse. There's no age restriction on conventional. No monthly payments, no minimum debt to income ratio or FICO scores. So maybe you do have somebody who doesn't have credit, or they would have a high debt to income ratio, but they fit the mold for reverse. That might be a good, way to look at it. The equity decreases as the loan balance increases too. So you have to think of it like when you have a regular conventional loan, you are paying the loan down as you go, as time goes, and you're making payments. With a reverse, since you're not making payments, your equity is going to decrease because your balance is going up. But the other thing is you are getting appreciation just in the market as well. So it's not like a crazy decline in terms of equity decrease. So there is like some sort of like equity position that's required to be in. There's a whole calculation based on age and amount and value, and everyone's situation is going to be, particular and unique and everything like that. And then the borrower has to occupy always on a reverse versus conventional. You can do investment properties. What makes Origin Point portfolio different from other non-QM loan products? So I would say that we can probably do like 98% of what's out there in the market versus most banks just have their products to pull from. And anyone who might be a correspondent lender like us doesn't have like any of this stuff. There's a lot of people who tout that they might have some portfolio or non-QM. We say portfolio because non-QM is kind of it's like not necessarily the right terminology, I would say, in terms of like describing these, because non-QM just means it's not a qualified mortgage and has more to do with like running through the points and fees test than like calling it portfolio. But we have like a lot of flexibility. And I would say one of the things is that we can cross the different products into each other from a qualifying standpoint. So the doctor loan with buy before you sell, or mixing the income use type Social Security with asset depletion. So that's a great question. Thank you. Reverse for purchase. So I did mention, I would say the most popular thing we see now and what we've been doing is, at least as my team, Sam does quite a few of these, and it's been mostly refinances, just people who that's like where they are in their stage in the life. They don't want a payment or anything like that, but we can do them for purchases. So this is also good when you're looking at that whole buy before you sell mentality of, I have a house, I own it free and clear, I'm moving into a new house. And maybe because I'm going into a ranch or a different like area, I'm not really going to, net enough to pay cash for this next one. Doing a reverse mortgage on that new purchase is kind of a nice thing because then you're still stuck with no payments. Where if you had a free and clear house, you were not having any payments anymore. And then your reverse mortgage on the new purchase would allow you to not have payments as well. So again, everyone's situation totally different and unique, but just wanted to make sure I mentioned that because I don't think it's been a while since we've talked about reverse on one of these calls. So again, I think I talked about the age 62. One thing also that's really great about reverse, and this also goes for like any bond program, down payment assistance that we're doing or something like that, but there's counseling involved, which means they actually have to do like a little class. They can do it in person, they can do it online, where the counselor like really makes sure that they understand what they're getting themselves into. And no minimum FICO score. So what else? Property. We can do single family homes, townhouses, 2 to 4 unit properties, a bunch of different type of properties. Second homes and investments are not eligible. I think I already mentioned that. And then 55 and older communities are also fine as well. I get that question a lot, and they're popular in certain areas. My parents and my in-laws both have one. Non-reverse mortgage, but they both have 55 and older communities. And so it's like a really popular area to have those in, or market co-branding with us too. If you're an agent and you want to co-brand this particular product. I would say one thing with reverse, a lot of loans we can close within a very short time frame. You know, we can close as quickly as 10 days if we need to. Reverse, you're going to want a little bit more time probably on because of the counseling and stuff like that. So anyway, what did we just cover? Oh my gosh, so many things. We just covered the RateFi, crypto qualifying, asset depletion, bank statements, 1099, buy before you sell, family opportunity, and reverse. So I just hit you with 7 products and a sprinkling of other knowledge in almost a 30-minute period. If anyone has any particular questions on any of these products, please shoot us an email, a DM. Let us know. We're happy to answer. Some of these, they're so specialized that like you just might not even have anybody or a need for it or know of anyone that needs any of these products for 6 months. But we're here. And what's great is our product development team at Origin Point is always adding on to our portfolio of products. Again, this is just a little tiny highlight of like the hundreds upon hundreds of products that we have. Also wanted to mention that you can check out our link tree for any upcoming events we have. We have a couple of in-person one. I'm in the Chicagoland market. And so we have in person the Treehouse Play Cafe on May 9th, and then last day of school ice cream social June 5th. That's actually up in Lake Geneva, so that's Wisconsin. That's Chicagoland. So those are the ones that are in person. Also the happy hour event. And then June 17th, we have Perfecting Your Credit and Credit Repair webinar. We'll have a special guest on who is very knowledgeable in that area. I highly recommend attending that one, and we'll do prizes for that as well. And then check out our social media because we are constantly doing fun giveaways. I know we have stuff coming up for Mother's Day and Father's Day that we're working on, but just different fun giveaways and everything. So anyway, thank you everyone for joining us. We will send out an email recap of everything, and we will include the winners of our Starbucks gift cards today as well. Contact information is there if you want to reach out, and we're always happy to help. Thanks for joining.